Little background today. One, my coffee machine broke this morning, and I still don't feel like I'm a functional adult. Mm-hmm. I have my routine in the morning, and I'm like, hello, coffee. And I spent like 20 minutes of my morning hitting my Keurig, being like, make me coffee. And then I have to go to the Tim Hortons drive-thru, and the window on my car is broken. I forgot about that. So I'm like opening the door, and mine was 20 this morning, like I really just need a coffee. Please help me out right now. So if I you're like, does this grab a train of thought? I do. It's just in my Keurig. It abandoned me beyond belief. But what I'm here to talk to you guys about is networking, which I'm really excited about because networking has helped me a lot over my career, both like as an employee and as an entrepreneur. So quick background. My name is Odian. I am the author of this fabulous book, Breakthrough, and I use the resources and information in it to help women with depression and anxiety, but also to help the community. So part of the work this book does is it works with an organization called Come to Life, and we send care packages to children around the world for free who are wanting tools to help them with their mental health. It also allows me to speak. So this is a fun event for me because it's like cute and intimate, but then I'll do bigger things. So on International Women's Day, I'll be speaking at Kingsway Mall on a panel. And so it's taken me a lot of different places at this exact moment. I spoke at Comic-Con a couple years ago, and I did a book tour across Western Canada. I do all sorts of little things within my business. Before that, and then during the day, I actually work for the Africa Center. It's a charity, and I focus on their mental health program for youth. So that kind of gives me that little balance, and that's where I am right now. And before that, I was in recruiting. Did anyone ever hear of Epicure? Mm-hmm. Did Epicure, did Party Light. There's a lot of things. I actually have like a little checklist of the things that I did beforehand. But that's the past. But the past is what makes you who you are. And that's what networking is. Networking is something that very often doesn't have an immediate, instant effect into your bank account. It's kind of like, why do I got to go to this event? What am I doing? That kind of thing. And there's these smaller events, and then there's those really big events that you're always seeing advertised online, like Arnold Schwarzenegger's coming here, Gary Vaynerchuk.
Oh, I love him.
Right?
Gary V.
But those are huge events. Those are events that are going to have thousands of people in them. And so when you go to a networking event, I don't want to miss anything because there's so many awesome things. So I made cheat sheet notes. One, you have to consider who's your clientele for your business. And let's say you don't have a business right now, or you're trying to decide what your business looks like, then you have to decide, okay, then I'm going there to look at business ideas, or I want to hear what people are doing, or I want to see stories, that type of thing. And then you need to look at the needs and wants for you. Because networking can be whatever you want it to be. It could be, all I've been doing is sitting in front of my computer for a week, and I just need to talk to a person, right? It could be, I've been hitting the pavement on my business for the last 2 months, and all my bank account is doing is going negative, 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 and I haven't seen any increase on it. So it could be you just need that motivational boost that as entrepreneurs, we've all been stuck in the negative phase as much as we don't want to admit that there's a phrase where it says, I took from Peter to pay from Paul. Mm-hmm. And you do the whole like, okay, if I just move the payment date here, then this makes it better, right? Like we've all been there. And so sometimes you need to remember that, and that might be why you're going to a networking event. And the other is just business stuff. Like here, we're all going to learn things. Every event is different. Sometimes you're going for all three things. Sometimes you're just, if you're a parent, you're like, I just need to get away from my screaming children. Like, I need to know I can have an adult conversation. And so those are the things you have to consider. Then it's the type of event. Again, are we going small or are we going large? So like I like to draw on things, so then it's like, hey, and those are supposed to be your like remembering, so I'm gonna have to switch now. And it's not happening. So at networking events, there's 3 types of people. Does anyone want to guess what the 3 types of people are since we're in a small group?
The shy one?
There's a shy one. Yeah. I call them the oh my god people because they're usually shy because they're filled with self-doubt. They're thinking to themselves, what am I doing here? Why did I come here? What is my purpose? Am I wearing something that's appropriate? What is happening? Or they are introverted, but they're like, I don't know what's going on. The next type of person, I call them the networking snobs. They love the drive-bys. Have you guys ever been to a networking event and within 2 minutes you have everybody's card? But you don't know who's the person who belongs to the card, and then you look and you see this person being like, you got my card, you got my card, you got my card, and you're like, what just happened?
And who are you?
Yeah, like you feel like you got hit by a vehicle, and there's like 5 people in the room being like, you got my card, you got my card. Or in the snoots, there's the people where as soon as they realize you're not paying them in that moment, they're not talking to you anymore, right? They're just there for their paycheck. Right? They're like, oh, you do hair? Okay. Like, you just started your hair business? Okay, bye. Like, and you're just like, what just happened? Right? Those, I call them like the networking snoots. Because they're not there for the connection that networking can bring. Then there's the people who I call the chill people. They've, yeah, right? They've already decided what their expectations are, or what they're there for, or what they're not there for. But if it doesn't happen, they're willing to go with the flow. They're like, meh, it is what it is, right? They've either been to so many events, or they're confident enough in themselves to know that rolling with the punches is what takes you where. And that networking events are never what you expect them to be. Ever. Like, I remember when I went to Tony Robbins, I think that would be like the most organized event that I would ever go to, right? It's Tony Robbins. That was like the craziest poop shoot if anyone went to Tony Robbins last year. And it was such disorganized chaos that even though I had a ticket, no one checked my ticket, and I had the cheapest ticket, and I ended up sitting in the 3rd row, which were supposed to be like the $200 tickets, because my friend was like, person beside me just disappeared, want to come sit beside me? And I was like, sure. Okay. And here I'm thinking it's going to be like, yes, ma'am, please go to row 22 and only talk to the person in row 22 beside you and sing and dance because this is Tony Robbins. Yeah. And you're like, what is happening? So you have these events. You know why you're there. You now have these 3 people. So you can be aware of them. And you can decide what person do you want to be. Do you want to be the person who's just going with it and accepting where you are? Are you going to do the drive-by? Very rarely has any, like, financial ramifications. I can tell you that right now.
You lose money.
Right?
You throw away all your business.
Right? Especially if it's like the fancy Vistaprint one. Like, I remember once I got this card, and it actually was, like, it must have been metal. It was so thick. Like, I could have cut something with it. I'm like, this is like a $4 business card. I really don't even know what this business is right now. Like, I think I actually did use it to, like, open a bottle. It was just, like, thanks whoever you were for the great business card. And so, you know these 3 people are happening, and you know what type of event you are. So now you get to decide what you want to do. So I love UFIs, called Useless Fact Informers. I am one of those people because I love reading, I love learning. So when a conversation's happening, I can always say like, hey, did you know about this? And I'm like, oh, okay. And then there's a conversation, and then you're talking about that. There's the food hunter, which is me 90% of the time. Did you know?
Are we judging people?
Right? And the food hunter, especially if you're feeling introverted, is the best way to start off. Because you go to the table, get your little plate, like picking the cheese, you stand just far enough away from the table that you can reload. And someone else is doing the same thing. They're like, I didn't get to eat before I came here. Oh, I really like that brie and it's on sale at the store right now, so I know it's good. Like, and so now you've got this common connection. Oh, hey, did you try the brie? Did you know it's on sale at Superstore right now? Oh, yeah. And you're kind of both like awkward, but you're bonding. Because there's no greater bond than food, right? And especially like if it's the great cheese you're like, yes. And if it's the questionable, you're like, did you feel okay after you ate that? Like, this has been out all day, right? Or Naomi with her, like, Kate, describe them to me again. They're vegetable pulp crackers.
Yeah.
Right?
Pretty much, yeah.
And that's such an intriguing thing. And then you're talking about her as a person. Like, hey, she juices on a regular basis. This is what this food item is. Or someone will be like, did you know this is really good for you? And then there's like the jokes, the charm, whatever it is. There's one of those things, and there's many more that you're really good at doing. So you have to accept that, hey, you know what? I'm really good at eating.
Yeah.
I'm just going to hang out at the food table, bond with someone who's eating. Hey, I'm really good at just like throwing in a comment. So I'm going to wait for the conversation. And then the best thing, and this is like, I'm streamlining into the plan of attack. But the minute I call it the plan of attack, right? Like your Austin Powers, $1 million, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's the plan of attack. So you're at the food station, right? I don't know if you guys noticed it, but whenever I was talking to you guys, I try and like make us into a circle, because when you talk to someone, you don't want to talk to them like dead on. Like when we talk to you, oh my gosh, Laura, what's going on? You make recyclables. No,
I don't make recyclables.
recyclable jewelry. 10%.
Jewelry out of recyclable
See,
materials.
there we go.
And jewelry is not recyclable.
Oh, so like, what's your favorite color to use?
Oh, I don't design, I only sell.
Oh.
I've been very picky right now.
So, if you looked, when I started talking to Laura, I was talking with eye conversation, but I was moving my body, because you can do that. And when you talk like this, then Maria knows about this one from B&I sometimes.
Like move back a
You
little.
want to always be in an open circle, because it invites people into the conversation. So those veterans that are kind of looking for someone to talk to, they think you know what you're doing, even if you have no idea what you're doing. And it makes it approachable, it makes it warm, and it also makes it really easy to sneak out if you think the person's crazy. Right?
I notice as well, like sometimes if I'm talking to somebody and my body is faced directly at them,
Yeah.
it can almost like put somebody on the spot a lot. So
Yeah.
if I notice somebody's like, yeah, and
Someone's
so
like,
I'll kind of like
"Easy,
shift my body language, and then they'll just start talking. It's
Yeah.
like really interesting how that
And it just takes
happens.
the pressure off everybody when you do that. Because you can still maintain the eye contact, but you can just slightly move your body. So that's part of the plan of attack. That was a side note that wasn't supposed to come to later. But there's the, oh wait, this just, oh yeah, no, it's still in plan, okay. So when you do your plan of attack, it's like whenever you have to do anything in school. Who, what, where, why, and how. Okay, who? You, and whatever you're going there for. So if it's the inspiration, the business, whatever, that's your who. What are you going to do? You're going to network. Why? Because of whatever. Now, how is by being you, right? Like, at the end of the day, we're always bombarded with products. Doesn't matter, I swear, it's like I can't even drive to the corner store without seeing 3 ads for something, right? I want genuine human connection. And that's why whether we're here for a business or networking or anything like that, that's what we're trying to do. So it's like, how are you going to do it? You have to remember that everyone's just as nervous as you. So you have to decide what your skills are. And how you're especially going to do it is by giving to other people. And I was already doing this, and then I found out it's like B&I calls it giver's gain. And the more you give, the more you get. And that couldn't be any more true. Even if you're here earlier, I told a story, but I know I'm short on time. So now I'm just going to tell a different networking story, if that's okay. Naomi has no choice. It's actually about her.
You're only halfway through it. So
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, you're
Okay,
good.
perfect. So I still have one more thing.
Yeah.
I met, there's a group called Womanition, and I met this lady named Rita Ann Fuse, who, she's like, oh, you talk about mental health? I have all these questions. My son's figuring out his journey. Let's talk. So we talked. Nothing. Never really happened again. She messages me, hey, I just created a not-for-profit in Wetaskiwin. Can you come out and talk? Sure. I'm there, and Naomi is selling glass at this event. And she is with Rita's son, who
Justin. I
Justin.
as soon as you said Foo, sounds
If
like
anyone
Justin.
knows,
who had, and me and Justin connected because this trip that I was looking at going on, his best friend had already been on it. And I was like, okay, degrees of separation, how's it going? And I was just like, tell me more about this glass. What do you mean you blow it? And she had her video showing of her being all like, ooh. That's really what it looks like to me. And next thing you know, I'm here with you guys today. And it gave me an opportunity to connect with Shanique because we've been trying to connect and our schedules are completely opposite. So just going out there and just being who you are, whether it's finding out the questions or the UFI, is what moves things so much more forward. And you don't see the results again till right away, but they do happen. And then, whenever I get to talk about networking, I always like to talk about the groups that nobody talks about. Because it's really easy to be like, be at the, not that I'm throwing 20 Romans under the bus right now, I love them, but like be at those big, huge events, right? But the thing is, it's the little ones that you least expect that do the most for you, not only as a person, but for your business and your connections. So a really good one is the Art of Conversation. Happens, I think it's like every 2 months. Has anyone heard of the Art of Conversation?
No.
So I think it's $20 off the top of my head. It's not expensive, but it's not cheap. It's like okay price. And you're not allowed to bring your cell phone into the room. Usually happens at the Hotel McDonald. And they'll always say like 2 topics that you can't talk about or can talk about. And then for the 3 hours, you can leave. You're not like locked in. It's not Alcatraz. You just talk. And it forces you to have those conversational skills that we're learning and getting out of your comfort zone. And it's really about just having fun. And the connections you make through that are amazing because there's something I'm working on. And there was somebody I met at one of those things. And my book's been delayed getting into the States through Barnes & Noble. And they are helping me with that process right now.
Nice.
And it was like, what's your most frustrating thing this year? And I said, this Barnes & Noble, like, Americans like me, I love you, like, and, right? Like, I was like, I can eat collard greens all day, like, take me away. So it was that, right? Or there was another, I went to it was like a musical networking event. Now, they didn't say it was a networking event, but it was like, business owners, come check out these local musicians. And I was like, okay. And when my book first published, I was struggling to get venue spaces. And I met somebody and we were talking like, what's your goal? And they helped me get this one venue that I use a lot now in Sherwood Park. And they connected me with that person. But we had nothing in common. We would never have met unless I went to this musical event. The next thing is volunteering. Like, volunteering is good for your heart. Like, really is good for your heart. It's good for your mental health. But it's also great for you as a business. So the long story that everyone got to hear, well, 3 people got to hear, but essentially I was in Dutchess this morning and this girl freaked out and was like, you're Odie and Welch, you're this author. And I was like, what is happening right now? Like, it's a little bit scared. But I ended up in that Dutchess because of somebody that I volunteered with at Blues Fest. And she knew me because of somebody else I volunteered with who had then told her about me. And it's like, you just don't know the chains of connection that happen in volunteering. I volunteered at the Edmonton Triathlon last year. I was trying to learn more about triathlons because it's one of my hobbies now. And the person who I was in the beer, like I was the pourer, what do you call it? The server, there we go. I was the server, and my co-server is the CEO of Wolf Grindstone, who, yeah, and Wolf Grindstone, Avril just gave me the face, is the like sub-business of Nova Cannabis.
Wow.
And that is like who you meet when you're volunteering. And you don't think about it. And you can volunteer, like it doesn't have to be feeding the homeless. Like if that's not your jam, that's not your jam, right? But it can be things like music festivals or, I know I'm a huge fan of music festivals, or working with kids. Say that again, Abra? Oh, Kara West? Yeah, I gotta give a shout out to Kara West. Any of my events at the Africa Center, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Mentorship, like there's a lot of organizations that'll let you come and go. And especially in Edmonton, with all the festivals that we have, there's huge opportunities. If you like art, Shakespeare in the Park. There's art walks, and they all need volunteers, and there's so many people who you don't know who you're going to meet. Or they're going to say, have you checked out this website? That's how I ended up finding, I was volunteering at something, can't remember what it was, Darren Daly and John Maxwell online. And they just send you an email first thing in the morning, and John Maxwell picks a word of the day, and he makes you think about that word in your business, and then you're supposed to think about that word. Darren Daly, his are either like 2 minutes or 10 minutes, depending on his run, so I just put them on while I'm brushing my teeth. And he wrote the Entrepreneur Roller Coaster and the Compound Effect, and he used to be the head interviewer of Success Magazine. So every day, instead of you having to go back and read Success Magazine, he'll give you a tip, and there's usually like a theme for the month or a trend or the day to keep you accountable. And for me, that helps me a lot. I get like my little business motivation in the morning, I brush my teeth, we're good to go. And it's those connections that you don't think you're going to get. The YEG Boss Babes is a really good one. Not just Business Babes. Naomi's is great too. Boss Babes is a really good one, and you don't have to pay to work with them right away. And
Really? I thought you have to pay right away.
you can go to their events without paying, and sometimes their events are free. But if you want to like join the group officially, then you have to pay.
It's what? Boss Babes?
Yeah, YEG Boss Babes.
YEG Boss Babes?
Yeah. And then YEG YEG Business Association is a really good one. They're actually bringing Jason Kenny in next week for lunch. I know.
Yeah.
I know. But it's like, but if you're a member,
Wrong crowd.
I know, right? But it's interesting because now you can go boo him in person, right? And, if you're part of their group is like $150 if you're still new in your business, like for the year. And then they have a free event every year with food, obviously the most important thing. And their big events are cheap. So like to go sit there with Jason Kenny for lunch, it's $40 because you're part of that group. It's not cheap for what he's doing in the economy, but that's a whole other discussion. She's gonna like boo me up here. I mean, like oranges thrown at me. Like I'm not him. So that, and then school groups. So anybody who's doing anything with school, like you guys are doing your immigration, you know, those high school groups, those meetups, those college ones, those ones can be really good. One of the schools I went to was Athabasca, and twice a year they have like graduate mixer. And most of the time I'm like, why did I sign up to go? But again, the most interesting people that get you to think differently about your business, people to let you know about courses. I'm in my master's right now. And I was actually at an Athabasca event. I was like, man, I'm like 3 years away from being qualified to be my master's, I said to someone. They're like, do you know about this loophole to get into the program? I was like, what? So I had to do work to get into it, but it wasn't just the black and white that I had known about. And I wouldn't have known about that if I hadn't been in that environment. So it's mixing it up and trying new things and being super comfortable with whoever you are. So if you're the legging person, be the legging person, because you're going to have more of a memorable impression when you're yourself, whether it's the food person or the UFI or whatever it is, if you're comfortable. If, like, I love Wonder Woman, clearly, and so for me, I usually have, like, a standout piece that makes me feel strong. So anything Wonder Woman, unicorns, that kind of thing, that's my jam. So I could be in an all-black dress, and I have a little unicorn pin, and I have another one where it's like, it has a horn taped onto it with paper, and it says "Make your dreams happen." And I have another one, and he's like, it's a rhinoceros, and it's like real unicorns have curves. And so, right? Whatever.
This is actually real.
Right?
Because our rhino's real. This is really good. Okay.
And so someone will see it, and they'll be like, that's hilarious! And I'll be like, oh, I ate too much last night. I'm actually feeling bloated, so it was just a representation of who I am. But I love anything unicorn. So for me, it's a conversation starter, but it makes me feel good. As great as it's at, it puts me in my zen. Maria here loves having her shoes on. The last event she ended up at with me, she got to take her shoes off. And I
ruined
know
my whole outfit.
Right?
This time too.
So to mix her up, I had to write her name on 2 name tags and put both on. And I was like, let's see who notices that, because now it's a conversation starter. Like, oh, I screwed up and wrote on 2 name tags, but I figured I didn't want to waste a tree, so I made my room today. Right? So that is networking in a nutshell. Everyone does it differently. I think the more fun you have with it, the more open-minded you go with it, and the more focused you go with it, the greater impact that you can have, not on only on yourself, but on your business. So go in with that, and then actually to backtrack a little bit, man, that was a great closing. Giver's gain is always giving what you can. So sometimes it's just telling somebody to go to a website has more meaning to them than you'll ever realize. Like the person who sent me to these websites, I've been listening to them for like 3 years now. Every morning. They have no idea. They're just like, this is really good for me. But I appreciate that. And it could be, and it's the simplest things that mean the most to people. If you see someone with lipstick on their teeth, or like grass, right? Like, Nick Jonas is like the most famous person in the world. Not most, but he's pretty up there. I'm a huge fan of Nick Jonas. He walked around the entire Grammys with lettuce in his teeth. And no one said anything to him. Do you think if somebody, even if it was like the guy who puts out the carpets, was like, hey, I know you're Nick Jonas, but like, you have something in your teeth? That guy would have been on stage. Nick Jonas would have not had to be like, well, at least I eat my vegetables. He would have been saved. And so, yeah, it's nerve-wracking to tell someone like, hey, there's toilet paper on your shoe. But they're going to appreciate that. They're going to remember it. Then they're going to ask you about who you are. And then they might not know anybody at that exact moment, but 6 weeks from now, they could say, their friend could be like, I just haven't had time to clean and my in-laws are coming. They're like, I met this girl. She was the singer, Avril Lavigne. And then now you've got business, right? And she'll be like, and she's so clean, she found the lettuce in my teeth. Right? And it's those connections that our brain uses that we don't know they're using. So in closing, for the second time, networking is being you, is being having fun, and remembering that everyone's just as scared as you until you get to the point of being like the chilled person. So find your facts, find your jokes, find your food table, find you, and enjoy yourself. Thanks everybody. Oh yeah, welcome, Brenda. Hold me back.